Given all your experience, do you talk differently to a white audience than you do a black audience?
It depends on the topic. Depends on what we're talking about.
How would you, whatever it is, what would be the difference?
Okay, so for instance, I just spoke at Penn State to a audience of had to be about 400 students, and maybe in there's maybe 5 black students. It was predominantly white. And so we're talking about, they asked as far as how they don't know this world. And it was an honest question. It was like, we don't know this world. So we hear black people talking about the things with the police, and we can't really relate because it's not our experiences. So, of course, we have disbelief, like, oh, okay, he must be exaggerating, until the video comes out. And they were saying how, they were very honest. They were saying how, the reason why some of the stuff that you guys are describing, were like, that can't possibly be what happened. And then, and the black people all kind of smiled, like, yeah, y'all have no idea. Because this is the privilege that you have. So when you have somebody like a Bill O'Reilly who, always says, when I get stopped by the police, I just listen to what they say, I follow the rules, and I have no problem. And it's like, your experience with the police is completely different than mine. It's not even, you can't even really compare. There are rules that we have when we get stopped by the police. I'll tell you a story. I was with my son Malcolm and his teammate Kamar, coming from AAU practice. AAU's a basketball team. I'm his coach. I talk about it a lot in the book.
It's an amateur athletic union.
Right. And so we get stopped by the police. And as soon as I get stopped, I roll the window down, turn the music off, take my wallet, put it on the dashboard, take my camera, my phone, put it on record, put my hands attended to, and I'm doing all this immediately. And they're looking at me like, you know what I mean? Like, what's all this you're doing? So the officer comes up, and how you doing, officer? And it's just de-escalating or a situation that I didn't escalate in the first place, because I know that depending on how this person is viewing this situation, who has all the power in this situation, it could be the matter of life or death. It could be the matter of us getting home safely and us not getting home safely. So that's something that predominantly white America doesn't understand, because they don't have to do all of that. That's just not the reality. And so speaking to a white audience is telling them of the privilege that they live in, and understanding, trying to have empathy for the fact that there's a whole different world that you're not a part of and that you don't have to deal with. And that's what these athletes are talking about. And being an athlete is not what's going to save you from being in that situation and being viewed as a threat. And that's something that's hard for a lot of people to really digest. And that's why hearing different athletes talk about it specifically. So, for instance, Thabo Sefolosha, I interviewed in the book, the NYPD actually broke his leg. James Blake, they tackled him in broad daylight. He's a former tennis player. He was at the U.S. Open. They thought he was somebody else. In broad daylight, in front of his hotel. You know what I mean? And because they viewed him as a threat. And it's that those stories of hearing those stories kind of just brings a whole different thing to mainstream America that, without video, they wouldn't really believe it even exists.